Same old trouble, villains always knocking at the door. Pretty pictures on the page, but nothing ever stays the same.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome once again to Graphically Novel. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fury. And with me is, this is a layup.
Oh, great.
My Sean William Scott.
Oh, really?
My 90s in 2003.
I'll be your Stifler.
That is a jizz-free ficus. It's Bear.
Thank you, sir. And with us is our scary lady. our Jamie King, as it were.
Oh, okay.
The lovely and talented, the Baronessa, Ms. Jennifer Howland.
Thank you, Bear. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest, who is back again after the birthday extravaganza
After
episode.
the deadly class episode.
Yes.
We bring him in for
back again.
we bring him in for Kung Fu Assassin stuff.
Kung Fu Assassins, my
I'm good
dear
with that.
friend, my dear friend, Dan Schaeffer. Welcome.
And I thank you. And I guess in the naming scheme, I'm today's Mr. Funktastic. Is that
Nice. Let's we've already,
Sorry, did I already burst
we've already
the bubble
invoked Mr. Funktastic, so let's get into what we're doing today.
Oh boy.
And that is Bulletproof Monk, a movie that totally passed me by. Jenn and Bear had seen it before. And
I don't know how you missed it.
Considering
you're like a bad movie guy. Like, how did you miss that?
Yeah.
I vaguely remember it being there, existing.
Yes.
I never saw it.
Right. I remember seeing it at the video store that I worked at. It was on the shelf. I was like, oh, hey, it's Sean William Scott in another action movie. I should check that out at some point because I am a huge fan of The Rundown, which is another Sean William Scott, although it also has The Rock, which makes it 10 billion times
But
better.
it's not even The Rock. It's not about The Rock.
Yeah.
It's about Walken.
It's about Christopher Walken, yeah. As
But
the villain.
I had
I didn't
so
see
much
that one.
hope for Bulletproof Monk because I'm a big fan of Chow Yun
Sean
Fat.
William Fat.
And,
Yeah.
he's done some really great stuff. He's done some stinkers. And this
Case
is
in
one
point.
of them.
Well, so in my research, with the D,
Research.
in
quotes.
Research.
Chow Yun Fat signed on when John Woo was originally supposed to direct this movie.
Sure.
And
Which
then,
would have been a very different movie.
Yes.
well, we were talking about it after I watched it for the first time and Jen refreshed herself. I'm just gonna say I did not care for this movie. Maybe I was just in the wrong frame of mind. This is like Sharknado level bad.
It's bad.
Oh,
Well,
It's close to
no.
that.
I wouldn't.
It is
no.
close to that, but it's not quite there.
It's
for
not
me.
quite there.
I love Sharknado, but Sharknado is so much worse than this movie.
Oh my god!
This
the
at least had some kind of production value.
the wire work was so bad in this.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But last night we were discussing it and trying to figure out what they were trying to do, and I landed on they were trying to mix Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which was big at this time, with The Golden Child, the old Eddie Murphy movie.
Yeah. That's
and failed. And failed.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Spectacularly failed.
I mean, it was definitely Crouching and Hidden because it was. I mean, that's why Chow Yun Fat was in it, right? Because he was
right.
He had reached sort of mainstream. I won't say popularity, but mainstream recognition.
Right.
Yes.
And so they said, "Hey, let's make some money off of this guy. Here's this thing about Tibetan monks, comic book about Tibetan monks. Let's whitewash it and put Chow Yun Fat in it."
Yeah, Jesus.
Oof. Oof, the whitewashing.
Yeah.
So that
Sorry,
actually links.
I don't want to get ahead of you.
No, that absolutely links into one of my things. Again, I did actual research, but I was
In quotes.
no actual research. I was curious about because the comic book and opening it up, we could only digitally find the first issue of this. There are 3 issues of this comic. The graphic, not like Comixology, not there. I went to the high seas, not there. The only digital thing that I could find was on hotcomic.net, and it was this one issue.
Thankfully, it was the first.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Since
Oh, wow.
I've been able to track down a full graphic novel copy on Amazon, so I'm having that sent to me right now. But it did not arrive in time for this, which is fine because I do want to talk about the comic. Because there are some... Okay, I said something out the other day just asking, none of us plan on traveling to China, right? Because we're going to get deep into Tibet in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm not sure how deep into Tibet we're really getting. I mean, Tibet kind of gets in the comic book. I guess it's more of a thing.
Well,
But
yes,
it gets kind of tossed off as this is Tibetan. But
Well, Carr is actually from Tibet in the comic.
in the comic book, he's Tibetan American, right?
Right. And his family was basically kicked out by not just
Mao.
the communists. Yeah, Mao, but not just Mao, Nazis too.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
kind of dropped the whole Mao Chinese
Yeah.
thing for the movie and just went with Nazi.
yeah.
Right.
Well, it was the 90s. We can only focus on one political, in huge air quotes, political bad guy.
We need to stop saying it was the 90s. This came out in 2008.
It was the 90s.
This
It was created in the 90s.
It was
a comic,
very
yes.
90s.
No, the
movie.
movie was, I'm sure that was not written in 2003. The movie came out in 2003.
Okay.
That movie was created in the late 90s.
All right.
Keep
but
in mind, 2000 and 2001 were essentially still the 90s,
it's, yeah.
or culturally, right? I mean,
The only decade that I think that I could say that that's not true with is the 90s, because there was like a delineation. Now we are the 90s.
19
yeah,
91.
between the 80s and the 90s, there was definitely a big
Yeah.
shift.
Hard stop. But in looking at this, and especially looking at the comic book and how much it deals with Tibet and Mao and a lot of that, I looked at the name of the person that created it,
Yeah.
and that is Gotham Chopra. Gotham
Yeah.
Chopra is Deepak Chopra's son
Right.
of the Transcendental
Mhm.
Meditation Movement, which is still big here in Iowa. There's Fairfield has still has a big getaway resort.
Maharishi University.
There you go.
Look it up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. It's pretty cool.
I believe you. I will. Eventually.
But
Except for the fact that it's in Fairfield. Helen gone away from everything.
Fair, it's Iowa. Everything is Helen gone away
Besides,
from everything.
when you're astrally
I know.
traveling, distance means nothing.
Yes,
right,
this is true.
it's true. Uh,
Just meditate on it.
Think about it.
I'm gonna meditate on it. But so some of those elements, and this is also one of the only comic books that Gotham Chopra ever made. He kind of followed in his father's footsteps and did a lot of writing and things like that. But I did find it interesting that, we have a famous son of somebody huge in the New Age movement. I mean, I knew the name because my mom, anything New Age, growing up, there definitely was a Deepak Chopra part of my childhood where she was into it.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm kind of surprised. I guess, of course, there are people who have never heard him, but he was big.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was,
in the sort of pop new age
yeah.
world, that was one of the names that was sort of, there were Deepak Chopra books in all the Barnes and Nobles and Walden books and whatever, forever.
Yeah.
I'm glad you all started explaining all this stuff right off the bat as to who this guy was, because you were like Deepak Chopra, and I was just, we're talking about video games now? Because
No.
I had I was never into any of this. I was just like, please let this be a video. No, they live here in Iowa. Okay, never mind.
But yeah, it's going through this. Well, firstly, there is a foreword by Gotham Chopra where he talks about that he started this whole comic on something that actually occurred, which is like Hitler sent Nazis into Tibet and into all these areas looking for, basically, like Indiana Jones is famous for this, looking for the mystical whatevers, and did touch his family, and so he was always really interested in it. And so that was the basis for creating this comic book that they never really get into cars, like, past. He looks like a white dude. Like, and so, like, casting Sean William Scott is, that's fine. I mean, it's weird because, like, he is dark, but he never really gets into, like...
He's also blonde, but then again, it was the 90s, and that was like a frosted tip.
Yeah, but there was
situation.
never any...
Right.
When I watched the movie, I did not think, okay, this person is in any way Asian.
Right.
Of Asian descent.
Yes.
It's
and
just he doesn't he's a white guy. He's a white dude.
Yeah.
And it is very obvious in the graphic or in the comic that we read that he is very obviously Asian.
He's Asian in some way. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned the blonde hair because, it's only on the very top of his head.
It's like
most of the time. Like, they forget to add the blonde a bunch.
It's a reverse frosting is what it is.
Yeah, that was like, okay, I'm like, okay, I can figure out who he is in the comic as we go forward because he's got the blonde hair. And then I'm like, but wait a minute, there he doesn't.
But why?
And there he doesn't.
Yeah.
So...
definitely a very, very interesting story. I mean, the story is basically like, the Bulletproof Monk actually doesn't even show up in the first
issue.
At all.
Right.
The actual... Well, no, there's a couple of frames where they talk about...
they talk about him.
Well, you actually see him in, like, 2 of the frames where he's, like, beating the crap out of Nazis.
Right, but, like, that's flashbacks.
Yeah, that's flashbacks. It's not actually...
in the
it's
story.
Not present day, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, instead of the scroll and instead of all this other stuff, its car has this medallion...
that says Bulletproof
That says Bulletproof Monk on it.
It's just a weird goldish colored coin that says Bulletproof Monk on it.
What is the one that the woman is wearing? What does that one say?
Hold on.
Keep going. It's much farther back.
I'm just looking at it. Here. Oh, I don't know.
In case
I can't find it.
I
read this like a
month
month ago. So
Daughter's wearing one?
She has one, but is that... No. That's his mother in the flashback.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
that's why I was confused. It is the Bulletproof Monk medallion that she gave to him.
Okay, got it.
So, reviews for this we were discussing just before we started recording. Reviews for this comic book, highly praised. They really liked the story, but they did point out that this needed a couple more passes through a copy editor.
Yeah.
To try and make things make a little more sense. Yeah.
It's a little disjoint.
Yeah, it is. So the story's kind of hard to follow. Has nothing really to do with
No.
No, there's the movie takes some of the beats from the comic book, at least from what I saw in the comic book, and turns them and spins them into something very non comic booky in some ways. Like, the girl turns out to be the mafia princess instead of the daughter of
the mob boss,
whoever.
Right.
The mob boss. I mean, it's similar, right? And there's the gang there is a gang at the beginning. It's not Mr. Funktastic and his funky subway crew, but
they missed a huge opportunity
in the comic.
Yeah.
I
was like,
not retroactively adding in Mr. Funktastic.
I had forgotten about Mr. Funktastic, and you were like Hidden Dragon, Hidden Tiger,
Crouching
Tiger, whatever, and the Golden Child, and I was like, well, the movie is more like Snatch, and
there's
less mumbling.
That's true. Bulletproof Monk medallion for mama, perico blue.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the whole. I mean, if we want to compare other movies, the beginning of it is all very Indiana Jones, right? With the Nazis.
Yeah,
very much.
And the ending is kind of a little Indiana Jones-ish too, in some respects. Or at least it's the sort of, I don't know. It's the face-off with the Nazis and the hideous death. And
I was actually describing this to Josh and Jenn last night while we were hanging out, and I got the impression after rewatching the movie that it was a very like Burton era Batman movie.
Burton era.
I don't. Yeah. It's almost a halfway point between Burton and Schumacher. You can't discredit this movie's fucking campy,
right?
Yes,
like this is all camp.
The dialogue was it intentionally campy?
Yeah, I don't know. But Josh literally said, as we were watching the movie, it was his first time watching the movie, so I didn't say anything. He was like, "Oh, the new executive director for the Human Rights Campaign, she's a villain," and I was just like, Yeah.
Well, that was pretty obvious. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like they
Yeah.
didn't telegraph that from
Right.
the beginning.
Yeah, I just like every beat you could just guess. You just, and
I mean, it set up a very lovely cat fight at the end, right?
yeah, but I mean, even that, like
Oh, it's
the action pieces weren't great. When you actually put wire work as a power in your movie, like Crouching Tiger, like was at least like somewhat subtle about it and hid the wire. This did neither of those things.
Yeah, it was pretty dismal. In terms of, I mean, the opening actually, right? The prologue scene with him fighting his master on the bridge.
Right.
That had some promise. It said, okay, yes, they're going to be doing it this way. The action scenes should be at least this kind of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of flying around, flying kung fu warriors. And then, of course, that promise was never.
Right. Right.
Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had so much trouble watching this movie, like
Yeah,
all
I
the way
did
to the end. I just is this still going on?
It was rough to pull me out of my phone, and that doesn't often happen with movies that we watch for the show. I'm usually the one that's like, okay, I have to focus. No, I could not.
Yeah,
could not. Just so weird.
I felt very validated though, because I was like, oh yeah, I was right. This movie is terrible.
But I mean, we got at least one good thing out of it. We got Jamie King, and Jamie King went on to do some of our favorite bits. We've already encountered her twice before
on the show.
She was did Goldie and Wendy in Sin City.
Okay, yeah.
And she was Lorelai in The Spirit.
Okay.
All right.
She also voiced
The Spirit.
Oh, it's good. You should see
you
it.
should watch it. It's real good superhero comedy stuff.
And you'd understand the jokes about Blood Brothers.
Plus she voiced Aura Singh in the Clone Wars. She was Heather Vandergilt in White Chicks, Josh.
I have never seen White Chicks.
I could have swore that you were the one that tried to show me that movie, and I was like, hell no way.
No. Nope.
She was in both Escape Plan movies.
Yep, Escape Plan.
Which I never saw.
Pearl Harbor, Blow. She's been in a mess of comedies. Like, she went on to do a bunch of stuff.
Well, and her part, there were two other actresses that were up for her part. One was Jessica Alba, and the other was Michelle Rodriguez.
Really?
Very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different roles.
Holy crap, she was in Ocean's 8. It's one of the Oceans. It's the Ocean's movie I have not seen.
Oh, that's the female-led.
The all
Ocean
women, yeah.
Movie. Yeah. I think we watched that.
We did see it. It was pretty good. Sandra Bullock was
She was
the lead.
also on the OC.
I never
did
saw
not
that.
ever
Never
watch
saw
that. So,
Surprisingly enough.
anyway.
Jamie King broke her finger during production. Not in any action pieces. She was talking on the phone, walking upstairs, and broke her finger.
Wow. Workman's comp. Workman's comp.
And Carr was almost Heath Ledger.
Wow.
I can't say that would have made it a worse movie.
Yeah.
I can't think of many things that would have
No,
made
it would have.
worse.
It could very well have sidetracked his career.
It could have. Yeah. That's true.
We would have never gotten the good Joker.
Yeah, he would never have been in that mode.
Well, this was also the first of like 3 movies that hit that were commercial failures for Sean William Scott, too, because coming off of the American Pie stuff. But he did this. Rundown came out the same year, which is unfortunate because it's a great movie, but it was kind of a flop. And Southland Tales years later.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I love that movie. It's a weird-ass movie, but
Southland Tales is one of those movies where if you liked Magnolia, you're probably going to like Southland Tales.
Well, it's by the director Donnie Darko, so...
Yeah.
And it was what he did right after Donnie Darko. And... also comic books, which should probably go on the list for possibilities.
Southland Tales?
Yes.
Oh,
Really?
Jesus.
What about Donnie Darko? Is there a comic, Donnie Darko?
No.
Damn
Not
it.
that came out. I think it came out after the movie.
Damn
I
it.
think there were-
Damn it.
Just remember, pimps don't commit suicide.
That's right. Did I just
Yeah,
watch
my big
Cars
issue with
Fuck?
Sean William Scott, by the way, is that I don't trust someone who has 3 first names.
That's actually that's a game here in Cedar Rapids because the Lynn County Department of Corrections has everyone who was arrested the night before put up on a Facebook page,
Uh-huh.
and there's a game for spot 3 first names.
What other movie did we watch recently? I thought it was for the show where we had two people talking about how both of their names were both first names. I'll have to go back.
It's got to be
Figure it out
season 5.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I
just can't remember what it was. I distinctly remember two people sitting down and talking about how the thing that they had, and they were kids, and the thing that they had in common was that both of their names were.
Yeah, no, the only thing that's kind of ringing a bell is Two Guns.
No, it wasn't two.
All right, well, that was 25 minutes.
Well, wait a minute. We haven't really even talked about Mr. Funktastic.
That's true.
That's right. We got at least 20 minutes on Mr.
We have
Funktastic.
to talk about that. Well, actually, here I do want to talk about him, but the one thing that I also wanted to add as my sort of overall impression of this movie, beyond the whitewashing, was how generic everything was.
Yes.
What city was that in?
Right?
I know it was Toronto standing in for, capital C generic city.
Right.
But it had a subway. That's all we knew about it, right?
Yeah.
It had a subway. It had a Chinatown, but it was not a city.
No.
It was just so sad.
Even
that it was so generic.
Even the city was whitewashed.
Yes.
Because in the comic, they're in San Francisco.
They're in San Francisco, right?
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Right.
Well, and even the backstory in the comic happens when you're seeing the one woman. I don't know if that was her mother, because the assassin was sent over to kill somebody, and that happened at UCLA.
Right.
So,
right.
They were very specific about all of the scenes, the locations where they were in the comic, and here they're just like, no.
It's city. Welcome to city.
Right. The city.
Because all the city, city people that got the script went, no.
Yeah.
No, you can't use our name. No, that's not happening here.
They live in the
have
precursor.
no interest in. We do not want to be connected.
Right. They live in the precursor of Judge Dredd's Megacine. But speaking of Mr. Funktastic,
yes,
played by Marcus Jean Perret, who is a British actor, and nothing else he's ever done have I ever heard of.
Right. Looking on.
Lay it out. What's he been in?
Girl Next, Holiday, The Lost, Viceroy's House, Playback, Somnolence. Yeah, The Picture of Vireda. Stripped Down.
Oh, we have
That's
to watch Stripped Down. Come on.
Stripped Down is a surrealistic feminist art statement stuffed inside a candy-coated exploitation bubble. I mean, that's someone's review.
Sounds delicious.
That's a 3-drink minimum. We have
Lana
to watch
Krause's film forms a critical dialogue about modern feminism. Lily is a former stripper and manager of a seedy strip club. So I want to know who Marcus Jean Perret is in that.
Right? I mean,
a bouncer.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh my God, he's so far down the cast list.
Yes.
He's Larry. I don't know what that means.
He's
but anyway,
a bouncer.
As Larry. He's
a bouncer with a heart of gold.
So what's interesting to me is that on the IMDb list of Marcus Jean Perret's oeuvre, if you will, Bulletproof Monk is not the lowest rated.
No.
Go figure.
Also, he was in Supernova, which got much lower rating on IMDb, and even Stripped Down is.
I also feel like we should watch La Femme Musketeer.
Yeah, right.
Like that seems like something I need to see.
2-episode. That was a television
miniseries.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
it was a television
TV miniseries.
And on the known for, Bulletproof Monk is actually number 4 on his known for.
Right.
I feel like.
Oh my God! So the La Femme Musketeer is actually. It's got Michael York and Gerard Depardieu. It's a real Musketeers spinoff.
Huh. D'Artagnan's daughter Valentine. Oh, there we go. And the 3 sons of her father's legendary musketeer comrade. So it's Musketeers the next generation.
It is. It's young Musketeers.
That's fantastic. Oh my God. John Rhys Davies is in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might need to watch this.
Yep. By the way, for anyone that actually tuned in expecting us to talk a lot about Bulletproof Monk, there's not.
There's just not a lot to talk
There's
about.
not a lot.
It was
there.
bad. Don't watch this shit.
Well, okay.
Like,
Now,
Watch it because
Yeah, watch it. We do have to talk about Mr.
Schadenfreude.
Funktastic, because what gang leader walks around shirtless in his subway den with his name tattooed across his chest? I mean, that's just peak 90s gang, right?
the only thing that I think would have probably been better is like getting your name tattooed across your chest is one of those things that I would only do, in mirror image, so that when I woke up in the fucking morning, I'd be like, who the fuck?
Oh yeah, now I remember. There's my name.
Let me get in character.
I do that, but I do emergency. Like you do,
No.
so
Ambulance?
when you look in the rearview mirror, yeah.
But
Emergency, like you were part of Emergency Crew.
what was missing?
Did you ever hear Emergency Crew?
No.
Christian rap band from
No.
like the 80s.
No,
God.
Bear, stop now.
Stop now,
I grew up
please.
in rural South Dakota. Leave me alone.
Well, that's like, okay, when I went to get my hair done before I went to Riot Fest with Mr. Schaeffer, by
You
the
heard
way. And the woman doing my hair was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to Chicago. Oh, what are you going to do there? And I'm going to Riot Fest. She's like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, well, it's like a punk and metal rock concert with tons of bands. And she's like, oh, that's so cool. Will there be any Christian rock bands there? And I said, I really don't think so. No, really don't think so.
Excuse me, Guar, you have to clear
Guar,
the stage because DC Talk is up next.
So then she proceeded to tell me about this really awesome Christian rock band that's getting played on the radio, like the rock station. They're really good. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't listen to the radio.
Oh,
Because I am that much of a music snob.
Yes, I know. There's a reason we have a Spotify account and a Sirius XM account.
Yeah.
You can hear exactly
Although
what
I'll tell you,
want to hear.
I usually use my Sirius XM account these days to listen to Radio Classics, which is all the great radio shows from the 40s, 30s,
Nice.
40s, 50s.
Oh, nice. I have to check
Yeah.
that one out.
148.
Okay. Yeah, recently, ever since we watched LL Cool J's Behind the Music, because they started redoing Behind the Music,
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Rock the Bells, because I missed that entire section of hip-hop when I was a kid. So
When you
so
were-
Bulletproof Monk and Mr. Funktastic.
Yeah, Mr. Funktastic and every other member of that gang were like, I mean, he was the only sort of generic gang person. And
He was the only
more of
non-generic character.
Yeah, that's true.
He's the
That's
only one that actually had like any sort of. I kind of
I
want to
take
keep
it back.
watching.
No, Mr. Kojima, played by Mako or
That's
Mako.
true. That's true.
Mako. Yeah, he was not generic. He was horribly misused, but
Yes.
Right.
but yeah, no, Mr. Funktastic is definitely a high
Well,
point.
Listen,
Funktastic.
if you're gonna put Uncle Iroh in a movie, you best let him shine.
Right?
Yeah.
See, yeah.
How
Sure.
does a Japanese man own a Chinese? Fuck you. But Mr. Funktastic originally was going to have more to do, as was his gang. The original ending of the movie was that Mr. Funktastic was going to get them into the Nazi base with his gang.
Oh, that would have actually
That would've-
required plot development. We can't have that.
Yeah, I know.
They
Yeah.
basically would have brought Mr. Funktastic to their side and struck a blow against the Nazis together.
So I have to admit, and it happened again when I rewatched the movie because it had been so long since I had seen it.
That you thought,
When he when
my
he
new insult
introduced
is go blow Nazis?
no, when he introduced himself, that being Mr. Funktastic, I again thought he said, "I'm Mr. Fantastic," and I'm like, "That's pretty cool." And then the guy was like, "Mr. That's Funktastic," and I'm like, "Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad."
Is that why you can't remember Reed Richards' name and instead call him Stretch Armstrong?
No, because he
Because
is.
there's only one Mr. Fantastic and it's actually Mr. Funktastic.
No, because he is Stretch Armstrong.
He existed before.
She
Stretch
has a point.
He did.
So yeah, Mr. Funktastic, Marcus Jean Perret doing his best Billy Idol impersonation without the, bleached hair.
Right. Chow Yun Fat just kind of phoning it in.
Oh, totally.
Mm.
I mean, they gave
Well,
him terrible script.
Yeah, well, can you blame him?
When the director changes, when you signed on because there was a specific director that says, "Hey, do you want to be in a comic book movie?"
So
Yeah.
he okay. So I'm gonna bring this. I'm going to bring up Brand New Cherry Flavor.
Oh,
No.
Just like the lead character in Brand New Cherry Flavor, perhaps he did not contract.
that's very true.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think he signed on when John Woo was
Right.
pegged to direct it. I'm surprised, frankly, that John Woo left his name on as a producer.
Right?
Yeah.
But he was, I think, at that time he had. I'm trying to remember where in his career in America, as an American wunderkind director / movie auteur had reached by the time this movie came out.
Yeah.
He was on the rise for sure.
Right, but where did it fall in? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Pull up his
Yeah,
Right.
I got him.
So we're looking at 2003. I mean, he had 97 was Face Off.
Brilliant.
Okay,
Broken
yeah, so
Arrow, he was established.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did he do right before this
Mission
movie?
Impossible 2 was in 2000.
Payback.
He did
Or Paycheck. Sorry.
He did Paycheck. It looks like he did Paycheck instead of this movie, which is funny.
Well, but he also did Wind Talkers right before.
That was the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had Wind Talkers, he had Hostage, he had Paycheck, and he had The Hire. I don't know what those are. The
Paycheck
Hire and
is
Hostage look like the same thing.
Yeah, Paycheck was
it's short films.
Was
Okay.
the Ben Affleck movie that was pretty much like everything you need to know about the director, the actor, everybody that's in
Right.
it is right there in the title. It was a bad action movie. But this whole thing also reminded me of Stranglehold, which I found out I can get for my Xbox One, which was a John Woo directed video game starring Chow Yun-fat.
Oh?
Yep. So I may have to go and pick that one up.
Where is that one available?
Xbox, Xbox One. So you have to go to the Xbox store.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because they still do old 360.
I vaguely remember that game coming out.
Yeah, it's basically John Woo's take on a
Well,
true
I mean,
crime,
it
Streets of Crime or whatever.
Yeah, it looks a lot like just on the cover art, at least, or the cover photo looks very much like The Killer or
Right.
Hard Boiled,
Yeah.
which are two of my favorite movies of all time.
I don't remember playing Stranglehold, but if there's not a button that I can press during a cutscene for doves to fly up from behind me, I also better be able to fire two guns whilst jumping through the air.
Yes, forward roll.
And yes, and your overcoat needs to fly majestically behind you.
That's true.
No
And then
capes. No
flap.
capes. No capes. No capes.
And the end of the movie needs to be me, dying just outside of the outstretched hand of my lover, and we die, and we never...
Right. And then, the bough of rose plants above you, all of the petals just fall on you.
Everywhere.
In slow motion.
That's right.
Oh, really? Because I was picturing, rose petals. Yeah, that's exactly what I was picturing.
Thud.
Boom,
The tree
the
just
end.
dumps all over you.
They did.
Well, Dan, if there's nothing else that you take from this, it is that you need to watch The Rundown. That's pretty much what
No,
I
if there's
am.
nothing else that you take from this, you need to watch The Spirit.
That too.
Yeah, I definitely that was definitely on my list, and it just kind of passed me by. But I will definitely
Best
check that out.
representation of blood brothers ever in a movie.
Yes. But the other thing, bringing it back, I think the elements for this being a farce parody kind of comedy, the elements are there. They're just poorly executed. The Spirit's a good example because the comedy bits in The Spirit actually hit.
Right.
Yes.
You are making a statement about the noir that you're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially Samuel L. Jackson and Scarlett Johansson's characters.
Yes. So good.
The octopus in Scarlett. Anyway,
Silk and Floss.
Silk and Floss. Thank you. Every time that they're on screen, they are being a parody of noir.
Yes.
This could have done that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
sure.
the only character that kind of does that is Mr. Funktastic, and he's by far the most interesting character.
Yes.
I have to give you that.
So you were going to talk about things that would make it difficult for us to travel to.
Right. Well, dealing with Tibet, and I'm not surprised at all that as early as 2003, we were refusing to talk about, and in fact, his dad in the comic left Tibet and went to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then had to leave Hong Kong.
Right.
Because
So
the
putting-
Chinese
so putting
government
those
invaded
things in the-
that one too.
Yeah.
So putting those things into a movie would have been, politically iffy.
Well, that's 3 markets that you wouldn't be able to
Right.
release your movie in.
Yeah.
China wouldn't allow it
Right.
in China, Tibet, or Hong Kong.
Right.
Right.
Because, fascism.
Authoritarianism, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the timing of the movie, I think you're spot on. I think that, you would have to choose. There is a line when you're making a movie about people from this country, you have to choose, is this going to be Indiana Jones, or is this movie going to say something?
Right. Indiana Jones says some things.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no.
Looting is fine.
Yeah.
Looting is fine. You take precious things from another country and take it back to your own. That's cool. Colonialism is awesome.
He yells that it belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
But,
No.
I mean, specifically, he's going for a museum in the States.
That he runs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, since I'm not John Cena, I can say fuck China, free Tibet, free Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I feel like it's almost a disservice. It's not a central focal point of the comic, but coming from the writer, the creator, and his background, and coming from everything, I don't know. It disappoints me even a little more than the actual movie disappointed me.
But I feel like that's the direction the comic was going.
Oh yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait. I'm really, really like to spoil the end of the episode. I'm waiting for my copy of this graphic novel to arrive because I'm in. I want to see the rest of this.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just going to make you even more sad about the movie.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's possible.
I want to know. I just personally want to know that there was something redeeming about the whole franchise that I can go
Right.
back and be like, yeah, no, the movie was garbage, but at least the graphic novel was really good.
Well, I mean, just
Well, but then it's,
issue
oh my
one,
God, what have they done to this piece of nice graphic novel
right?
Right.
art literature, right?
Not to say that the graphic novel did not have its flaws. Like the entire thing is built on the premise that if a gang walks into the grocery store or convenience store you
Filming.
work at, filming, you could just make friends with them and
By kicking the crap out of them and throwing donuts and soda at them.
right, yeah. You kick the crap out of the lower ones. The leader will be like, "Hey, come join our gang," and that's just how gangs work.
Yeah.
That's almost the way Mr. Funktastic's gang worked, though. Almost.
Yeah, you're right.
Almost.
You're right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there was the girl, right? who
Right.
Sort of flipped on the gang to be with Carr.
Right.
I mean, it was clearly,
Oh,
derived
although-
from.
it would have been interesting had they kept the fact that they only call her daughter.
Yeah.
Like even
Yeah.
her boyfriend only calls her daughter.
Well,
Right.
she only called him leader.
That's true.
He
Yeah.
didn't use his
He didn't
name.
have a name.
But the thing that I thought was kind of interesting was the whole food, using food
Oh, yeah.
as a,
Yeah.
As a way to basically get information out of people, kind of.
Well,
as a-
information, but
and
also
all
to-
bonding, yeah.
well, as medicine,
Right.
apply chocolate as necessary,
Right?
and
Right.
and
I mean, the only
hot
thing-
food and
The only thing that we really haven't spoiled out of the first issue is from what it sounds like, a fairly decent recipe for ramen.
Yeah.
mm,
There is, in fact, and the first thing he says is the first thing I do, which is take that little MSG packet and throw it in the trash.
garbage. Yeah.
Because it's horrible. Which is
Yeah.
true. That's the same thing that I do. Because chicken broth is a thing that exists.
Okay. Sorry. Going back to the movie now.
Yes.
I did have a question I wanted to ask you because I could not figure it out. What the hell was that apparatus in the Nazi base?
That's
What were
why
they
I said this is a Batman movie.
So
But how did running water through a pipe suck brains out of Tibetan monks.
Listen, did you not watch Princess Bride?
It's true. He just sucked a year
No,
of
I got.
their life away.
I just thought that was so funny. That's like, why did they even put this in here? But
And
then
if
I
they
thought,
put it in there, why was there not somebody that running in going, not to 50?
but then it occurred to me, okay, this is based on a comic book. Maybe there's something in the comic book that this parallels.
Nope.
Certainly not in the first issue.
Well, there might be something.
There might be.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
see.
what I'm saying. It was, but anyway, oh God.
Yeah.
That was just
Well,
so
also the villains in the comic, not Nazis, literally working for Chairman Mao.
bad. Yeah, they're Chinese. But, what are you going to do? You've already made the decision not to piss off China
Right.
with your whitewashed movie. So, yeah. And I'm just, as I'm thinking about this again, I'm just thinking about how generic even the Tibetan monks in the city
Yes.
were, and how generic the one monk who flips, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, that's the most generic possible reason to be and you knew, right, that he had
He's making deals with Nazis.
making
And
deals with
he's
Nazis.
Asian.
You're going to die.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's like you're willing. So that was okay. I'm not going to say so unbelievable because this whole movie hashtag. Anyway,
Hashtag so unbelievable.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
But
Oh!
it's like it's just really you're going to have a guy who's going to choose to be a monk, to be a Buddhist monk, and all of that it entails, just for the barest glimmer
of
the
hope
possibility
that you might share ultimate power
that you
with
will
a Nazi.
have that
With a
power.
Nazi. Well, but here's the thing. He could have been your average, everyday, regular Buddhist monk who had gone through all the training. But then he found out as he came up through the ranks of, I don't know what level 1 monk is, level 2. But, then the leader guy says, oh, by the way, we're waiting for this
Level
scroll.
1 monk is powerful blows. So your fists can do normal.
There you go. Right.
Normal damage instead of subdual damage.
Flurry of blows.
Right.
But then, at some point, the leader of your little gang of Buddhist monks. What is the plural noun for Buddhist monks? By the way, monastery seems too easy. But anyway, he says, by the way, there's this scroll that we might have to protect someday. And by the way, if you read it out loud, you're gonna get,
Right.
all the power in the universe.
Phenomenal cosmic
Well,
power.
I mean,
Phenomenal cosmic
he
power.
knew about it from the get-go because the head monk, I don't know what you would call the head monk, was the son of the boy that grandson.
He's the
the
nephew.
boy.
He was the nephew.
Oh, was it?
He said it was my uncle.
It was my uncle, yep.
Okay.
My uncle was the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he knew.
Yeah, but that's why he said he told Chow Yun that that he had been training all of these monks just
and especially that one.
Right.
Especially
that one because he was going to be the chosen one.
Right.
Right. Okay. That makes
case, that makes a bit more sense. But what the hell? Like you've dedicated your life to this to protect this thing, but no, you're gonna say nope. I'm gonna take it for myself. Don't you think that
he gave up when they told him he had to find a green-eyed Asian?
I mean, don't you think that? I don't know. I mean,
the white tiger.
It just seems unlikely,
right?
I don't know.
The white tiger in this context would have been Jamie King because of Russian mobster.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh God, he will defeat an army underneath a flock of cranes or whatever.
A flock of cranes circles above.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
The fight for
love
in the Palace of Jade.
In the Palace of Jade. Yeah.
Once again, this is why I said Golden Child.
Yeah.
It was such like even the Asian mysticism was generic.
And
poor.
lame.
Yeah.
And poor.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was terrible. It was terrible. Oh my God.
So,
there's
Dan, are you gonna track down this graphic novel? You think you're gonna?
You know what? I almost bought it. I think I told you that I wanted to get it in time. In order to get it in time to read it before this recording, I would have had to spend twice as much for shipping as for the book. So I may now go and read it. Just because it's interesting enough as a comic book.
Right.
The first issue sets up some things that are very interesting, but then I will just, unfortunately, my reading of the whole graphic novel will be now tainted by the knowledge that they made this piece of dreck from it. I'm afraid it's going to spoil the book for me, but yeah, I can go through and make more comparisons of how bad this was compared to that.
Well, it's also rough because I guess I'm not a huge fan of the kung fu genre in general. Jen is.
I am.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
I don't know what's wrong
can't
with
just
him
sit
either.
down and watch a kung fu movie generally.
You're weird.
Shang-Li, I did enjoy.
Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi, sorry. Shang-Chi, I
Which I
did
still
enjoy.
have not seen.
It was
good.
actually a really good kung fu movie. Like it's
Yeah.
you know, at its core, it was just a really good kung fu movie. But it
And
also,
I think it was the first time Aquafina got to play a role where she was not being.
it's true. Yeah. And you know, just all of the different things that they did with that. You know, actual fighting. You know, like this movie was like. There was so much more wire work than there was actual choreographed fight scenes.
Yeah.
And you can't just depend on that. You have to actually have fight. Like it's like wrestling. Fight, spot, rest, fight. You know, like there's a pattern to it. And if everything that you do is just wire work, I mean, that's, you know, who cares?
Right.
You're watching a puppet.
You are, yes. That's exactly right.
Puppet show.
Dave made a maze. It's just, I don't want to keep
I was very
coming
disappointed.
back. Yeah, I don't want to keep coming back to how much I didn't like the movie, but there are a lot of other ways to get me into that, you know?
Right.
And this was
the other thing that disappointed me about this movie is that when it was only available in standard definition.
Did you really need to see
No, I didn't need it
more?
in high def.
Did you need to see more of the things you didn't like?
At the beginning, I thought, oh, it's too bad this isn't in high def because it's going to be, you know, the action scenes are going to be cool. And then, you know, about 10 minutes in, I said, oh, no, never mind. Never mind. But
I need it in high def because I actually want to see the wires.
Right. Even the opening credits were like a bad 90s cop show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it was.
That's actually probably a better description than the Batman movie. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
And while we could have just spent $5, while we could have just spent $5 on this, we ended up spending $10 because I told you I picked up the DVD at half price books for $5, and then you were like, "It was on Vudu, so now I have it for $5."
Yeah,
I spent $4 to rent it on.
That's
Amazon
the difference. Is I don't keep hard copy of movies anymore. I've got a Vudu account, and I'm good with that.
Right. So you could have watched it for the $5 that he paid. And then we could take it back to half price books.
But see, that's the thing is, I also don't have anything at home with which to watch hard copy anymore.
See, I told you that.
Did.
No.
So wait, if you take it back to half price books, do you get anything back from it?
Probably like 50 cents. Yeah.
Maybe.
So it's only $4.50.
Well, they look it up in their computer and they say, "Hey, we've recently sold a copy of this. It must be."
The last time I took
it might be popular.
Last time I took a box of DVDs into half price bookstore, I was getting like 25 cents.
That's
well, then we could have spent $4.75 to $10.
Right.
I
feel okay with spending $4 on Amazon.
There you go.
$4.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure on Vudu it was like $4 to rent, $5.
Except wait, doesn't the DVD?
So Jen, this graphic novel will arrive at your house soon. Are you interested in reading it?
Maybe.
So you're a maybe on that.
I'm a maybe.
Yeah. However, your takes you.
Yeah.
Bear?
I think I am also a maybe, just because like the first issue was like the story was okay, but it didn't really lead me to believe that there was going to be like a really great story coming. It was a pretty low key intro into the characters and nothing really gripping.
Okay. I can see that.
I'm kind of on the fence. I kind of want to read another issue just to see where it goes, if anything picks up, but I mean, I'm sure I'll be over here at some point and they'll be like, "So it's here," and I'll be like, "Well, it's only 2 more issues. It'll take about, 40 minutes to read."
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to read it, so I don't know that I'll actually buy the book. I may, after you're done with it, ask you to, send
There
it
you
up
go.
so I can read it, and I'll send it back. Or
Yeah, next
burn it or
visit
whatever
I'll
is
just take
appropriate.
it.
But yeah, it was interesting enough for me to want to see more of the comic. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
2 drink minimum.
Oh,
And
boy.
one of those drinks has to be a shot.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'd say that's fair, actually.
Yeah. I don't know, though.
I remember, I'm going to say, fortunately, when this movie came out, we didn't go to movies in the theater very often, but that was like I had just had a child, so I really wasn't going anywhere because I had an infant. So I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it after it came out, which I think if I paid to see that in the theater, I would be quite upset.
Well, this was 03. This was, at this point in time, we were living in Mount Vernon. I was living in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I was.
So yeah, we were still, there's a lot of college kids running around doing a lot of dumb college things, which was like, getting 10 people all stuffed into the same living room with a mess of snacks and just watching any terrible movie that came on and, MST3King the hell out of it.
Yeah,
This would be a good MST3K
Yeah, maybe.
Mm.
I just don't think. I mean, yes, if you could come up with good MST3K people to do good jokes about it, that would work. But it's not like Highlander 2, which was just in and of itself hilarious to watch.
Yes.
Yes.
But so it was bad, but not bad enough to be good.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's certainly. I've been trying to think of it. What's the kung fu movie with the landlord lady and the gang?
Shaolin
Kung
Soccer.
Fu Hustle?
Kung Fu Hustle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like that is this
That
done well.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder when Kung Fu Hustle was trying to.
I'm pretty sure Kung Fu Hustle came out well after this.
Yeah.
Maybe not well after
Kung
this.
Fu
but
Hustle
after this.
2004.
a year later,
Yeah,
2004.
okay.
1
Yeah.
year later. Okay.
Shaolin Soccer.
But
was
it's
the
Stephen
predece-
Chow.
Yeah. Shaolin Soccer is was the movie before Kung Fu Hustle, I
Right.
think.
2001.
Yeah. So, and they're in the same universe. They're
okay.
tied
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
That's
it's
why
Stephen Chow.
I
is
always
the-
get
is
it
the-
confused when you're like the landlord. 'Cause I think she's in Shaolin Soccer too,
Yes,
as
I
well.
believe she is.
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
I love these movies.
Oh, they're great. And his earlier stuff, The God of Cookery,
Yes, that's a really good movie.
it's a fantastic film. I mean,
Was- Was Iron Monkey in that too? No?
Too.
no,
I didn't go all the way to Iron. I stopped at Breath. That funky monkey.
funky.
I'm debating. Like, I'm just saying, what do I... No, I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to hit you with nothing.
Pick up your cup.
This time.
Fill it up. Sorry.
Speaking of
That
cups,
was-
mine's empty.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us yet again.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun. And
Well,
It's always great to have Mr. Funktastic on.
yeah, except I would have to like shave my whole upper body and get the tattoo to be, and nobody wants that.
We'll just do it in henna, so it's,
Well,
not,
we
it's
could-
not there forever.
We could just like put it on a piece of paper and hang it around your
That's
neck.
right.
Hang it around my neck.
Yeah.
Get you like a Flava Flav.
There we go.
It could be a giant watch, except it says
Funktastic.
Funktastic. Oh my god. Oh, thanks.
Well, everyone, please join us when we will have yet another of the Chicago Friend Crew, as we have Jim Shop will be joining us
Woo!
to do The Mask.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And in fact, when I reached out to him and asked him if he would like to do this, he said, yes, let me go pull all of my original issues out.
We chose
Wow.
wisely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
until then, take it away, Vandello.
Come with me, I'll tell a story that you might have heard before. Graphically novel, but the same old trouble. Villains always knocking at the door. Pretty pictures pictures on the page, but nothing ever stays the same. Do 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 do. Come at me, and I'll show you something you ain't never seen before. Right or wrong, oh can't we all just get along? My mask is no different than yours. Pretty pictures on the screen, but nothing's ever as it seems.